what I want to share with you, do you know what the United Way does?
A whole bunch of different things.
Do what?
A whole bunch of different things.
Like what?
Well, I think you work with different agencies.
That's right.
Like I think CAR and all those kind.
Right.
And you help publications and education and information. You do all kinds of different things, but involve individuals as well as families.
That's right. Anybody else want to add to that?
Oh, see, I should have read it.
In 2017 now? So 2015, I did that community needs assessment. Each of the communities decided they wanted to work on different things. Brian Powell, he reached out to me and he says, Mannie, we want you to come back and we want to work with the United Way on figuring out how to address the relationship between nonprofits, government, and organizations like churches and things. Bring together so that we can address a community issue. The community decided they wanted to address at-risk individuals and chronic homeless. Because it's kind of the community felt that that was a gap. People who are, like me, like I was, right? Swirling down the drain. The closer that I got to the drain with less money coming in, the homelessness circle was really starting to gobble, right? As you get closer to the circle of the drain, it starts to pick up speed. I felt like we were just down, 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 and it was sucking us in. And there was nothing I could do, and it was just going to happen. And so I didn't even know what resources were out there. And so we started working on this homelessness issue and people who are at risk. So families who are making somewhere between $10 and $14 an hour, barely making it, needing to go to CARA each month or once a year or whatever. They're chronically short on money. Chronically short on money. So we thought we would get together and talk about this. And in our journey of trying to figure out how can we help folks, we started working on chronic homelessness. And now we've got a subgroup that has been meeting for about 8 months. We've held a Project Connect event, which is we bring the resources together that homeless individuals need, like getting an ID, getting services that are particular to them. Once we started that event, now we're also looking at what can the city do to help. The Genesis Project is in a soup kitchen in Apache Junction. It's just like right south of the feed store on Idaho, and in those two east-west buildings, those like strip buildings. And I've been going there for about a month and a half, 2 months now. And I've been meeting with homeless individuals or near homeless individuals and getting to know what their issues are. One of the things that I've heard a lot of is that I have a speckled past, I have 3 or 4 felonies, I can't find an apartment, nobody will rent to me, I can't find a job, I am unemployable, or maybe Walmart will hire me, at least now it's $10 an hour, but before it wasn't, right? I don't have transportation, and I actually met a man who has no income, he has no Social Security, disability, nothing else. He has no income, nothing. I sat next to him, absolutely speechless. No income. Process that for a minute. No income. I can't buy gum. I can't even buy a bottle of water. I can buy nothing. I don't have any money. And I asked him what he was doing for work, and he goes, well, nobody will really hire me. He doesn't have any ID, he can't go. It was just difficult. So that's one thing. So then I met, of course they started talking to me, right? Because I'm there, they're getting to know me, so they open up. I actually met a few of them for lunch over at the burger place on Signal Butte, because they didn't want to be in Apache Junction because they were afraid they would get picked up by the police or harassed or who knows what else. They met me there at the In-N-Out Burger, there we go. And what I learned from them was that was kind of disturbing to me. And again, that's their side of the story, right? There's always 2 or 3 sides to a story. But what I heard from them was that, well, they go camping, right? There's no place to live, so they camp. Then they get approached by authorities and told, you know what, this is not a place for you to be. They're given a warning. So then they move their camp, go over here. Then the police come and say, you know what, camping citation number 2. I don't know if that's still a warning or what, but at some point that turns into criminal camping. There's at least 20% of the population, 25, 30% of the population that lives in such dire straits that they're literally almost homeless all the time. If it takes $16 an hour in order to afford a reasonable place to live in Pinal County, if you're making $10 an hour, you're $6 an hour short each hour of making ends meet. 1 in 4 kids in Pinal County lives in a home that is food insecure. 1 in 7 adults in Pinal County doesn't make enough money to support all of their living expenses. This is a huge issue. So my question to you is, where does our social policy and our city policies make things better? How can we, as a community, I live here, okay? I live here. And there are people that I work with who live outside of our community who come here and tell us that, well, we do it over here, we do it this way. Well, you know what? I live here. This is my community. I want it done my way, okay? How do we, as individuals, that's why you're in this class, right? Is to create that change. But what would we do? Because this is not just an Apache Junction problem. It's a Casa Grande problem. It's a Tempe problem. It's a Mesa problem, LA, New York, Florida. It's everywhere. Because it's a population. It's a certain population. It's 20%, 10% of the population, okay? They just don't fit in with what everybody else expects them to be. But so then are they lepers? Do they deserve to live out in the desert under the bush? I have some who come to me, Mannie, I don't want to live there anymore. Okay, well, let me see what I can do to help you. And some of them are at the point where they're ready to move on. But 90% of them are not. And so I can't help them. Nobody can help them. So then in the meantime, is it okay to arrest them? Camping? And this constant cycle of, you can't camp here. Oh, go over here on this intersection over here, but make sure that you are 100 yards beyond this point. If you're not, we're going to arrest you. Or I'm going to tell you to go somewhere, and then at the middle of the night, I'm going to come and make sweeps in that area and arrest you. Is that right? I mean, what do we do? Where do we tell them to go? So at some point, if there's no place in the community to go, is it okay to arrest somebody? What you're doing is, right now, currently what's going on is that the Chronic Homeless Committee is actually doing a stakeholder survey. It has 5 open-ended questions. It is being distributed through St. George's, the Genesis Project, and a few other locations. We are trying to figure out, what do the homeless think they're missing? What are they missing? We're going to ask them, what are you missing? Because you're right, government cannot fix it. Government may be the federal government who funnels the money down to the communities, right? Because they do the big suck up and then filter the money back down. When they bring the money back to the community, they put so many strings attached that local communities can no longer develop programming that fits their communities. They have so many strings and restrictions attached, it's no longer so that's where the gaps come from, right? The best thing is that the government really doesn't have the money to do this. And they really aren't the ones that can do this. I think it's a partnership between the public and the private. So that's kind of what we're doing with the survey, is we're going to them and asking the stakeholders, what do you think you need? And then we can go back to our powwow camp and go, what can we bring to the community that could be of assistance to them? What I hear again and again and again from them is we need some kind of a project ID where they have to go to downtown Phoenix currently to go to project ID to go get IDs. How are they going to get there? I had one person tell me in a meeting the other day, well, they can get on the bus. And I looked at this person and I'm like what? I'm like, the closest bus is 10 miles away. So they're going to walk the 10 miles or use their hand-cranked wheelchair that's missing batteries because they can't get Medicaid, to pay for the batteries to their electric scooter, okay? I'm helping a guy who can't get the batteries. We're stuck. And so they're going to go the 10 miles and then go downtown Phoenix on the light rail, which costs money. I mean, just like, okay. So the perceptions are, so if they can come back and we can facilitate maybe a conversation and say, look, these are simple things that you want. Maybe the city can go, hey, public partnership, can we do something together? And so I think it does take city policy. I think there has to be a policy. Even if it's, this is how we will look at this group of people. Even if it's everybody, the police, fire, housing, all the departments, look at this individual with the same way. So that one department isn't being all chummy and another one is applying the axe, right? That it's consistent across the board. Everybody in the city is doing the same thing, giving the same talk, same message, right? And perhaps that would be one thing.
Does it even have to be
We did Project Connect with the city's blessing, okay, out here in the parking lot, okay, in January. We're hoping to do another one. I don't think the city has the staff power, because it's time consuming, and Heather did an amazing job putting all the pieces and parts together. But I've been approached by other organizations saying, hey, Mannie, will you help us put another one in October because we have a dip in the summer with the homeless. They kind of go to cooler, they go up to Payson and someplace cooler. And I would love to have you help us in the fall, because I think it's you helping, it's neighbor helping neighbor, right? Because ultimately, they're still our neighbor. Whether the city views them as a problem because of location, wherever their location is, right? It's the location that's the problem. The park, the sidewalk, the alley, I don't know where else, the desert. It's the location. I don't know. I think you need to go back and ponder.